continuing our unit on checking accounts with today's lesson of how to fill out a check and write a check for payment. So let's look at this check that we have already filled out for us. And this is a check by John Smith, and this is his address. Sometimes we could also include a phone number on there. In the upper right-hand corner, you're going to notice the account number, excuse me, that's not the account number, that is the check number. Then the place where you want to date this. Now, it's very important that you put a date on your check because that starts the expiration process. So the checks will expire 6 months after you wrote that date. So if it gets lost, you know that it can't be cashed after 6 months. Paid to the order of is where you're making your payments. You're going to put the amount of that check 2 places. You're going to write it with a numerical value inside of the box, and then you're going to fill it out in words on the line underneath where it says dollars. So you're going to write it in dollars and write any change that you have in fraction form. It's going to be a fraction of a dollar. Then here, most importantly, you need to sign your check. If you don't sign your check, then it's not cashable. Whoever you give it to will not be able to cash it without your signature. And the last is a 4-line. So that 4-line could use multi-purposes on there. You can write what you're actually writing the check for. If you're sending a bill in, you could write your account number on that line. If you're sending in a bill for another person, you could put that person's name on that line. So there's different options of what you use for that 4-line. Okay, so let's just make sure we can find everything appropriately. So it says, what date was the check written? So the check was written on May 20th, 2013. So I'm going to list that here. How much was the check made out for? It was made out for $14.24. Who was the check made out to? It was made out to Pizza Barn. What was the check number? Now the check number is in 2 places, and on this example it's actually not the same, but they should be. The check number is located in the upper right-hand corner, which is 1274. On the bottom of the check, you'll have 3 groupings of numbers, like you did on the deposit slips. The first number is going to represent the routing number, and again, that's the number that associates your bank to the check. The second number is your personal account number that links your account and your money to your bank. And the last, like I said, these 2 numbers should actually match, but the last number should be the check number. All right. It says who wrote the check? The check was written by John Smith. And remember that when you sign a check, that you should sign it in your cursive handwriting to make that your signature. And what did he buy? Off the 4-line, it says that he bought pizza. Just one more note of caution: when you fill out your check, you should always use a blue or a black ink pen. You should never, ever use a pencil. But if you don't have a blue or black, I think it would be okay. But those are the most appropriate colors. All right, I'm going to ask you to fill in number 2 for me later. I'm going to go down and we're going to scroll down here to number 3. And we're going to fill in our first check. So it says, you need to write a check at the store to pay for food. Fill in the following line items. So it says, write in today's date. So the date goes on that top right line. So today is November 4th, 2020. We're going to pay the food mart. So I'm going to fill that in. We're going to make this check for $45.10. So I'm going to fill that in numerically in the box, making sure I put my decimals in appropriately. And then on the line under the pay to the order, I'm going to write that number out in words. So that is 40. Now, here's a clue here. When I spell 4, that number is spelled F-U-O-R. When I spell 14, that number is spelled F-O-U-R-T-E-E-N. But when I spell 40, that number is F-O-R-T-Y. That's a very highly used misspelled word, but we need to write 45. So I'm going to write 45. You can write this in cursive. I usually do. And so when I get to the decimal, I use the word and. You can write it out or you can abbreviate it. And since I have 10 cents, I'm going to make that as a fraction of a dollar. So that's going to be 10 out of 100. Now what I do is I put a line through the rest of this so that nobody can come in and fill any extra numbers out. So this reads 45 and 10 cents dollars, or 10 out of $100. We're writing this for groceries. And the last thing you want to do is sign your name. Now, you can actually sign your name on these when you practice. I'm going to go ahead and sign John Smith. You want to make sure, again, that you sign in cursive your signature so that it matches the signature on file at your bank. All right, the last one I'm going to do with you, it says your next one, you want to send money to your niece for her birthday next week. Again, good idea never to send money in the mail. You would want to send a check or a gift card if you were sending something, a present in the mail. Write in today's date. So today is November 4th. And we're going to pay Mary Smith. So we're going to write Mary Smith on here. And we want to send her $10. So I'm going to write 10, a real strong decimal so nobody can change that. That'll be $10. And we're going to write out 10. Now, when it has no change, we can write this out in different ways. Let me show you some different options. We can write 10 only and blank out the line. Or we can write 10 and some people will write, whoops, I got carried away here. We can write 10 and 00 out of 100. Or you can write 10 and XX out of 100. So there's some different options. You can either write it as 10 only. You can write it as 10 and 00 out of 100, or 10 and XX out of 100, just so that it's showing you that there's no change. Again, I'm going to go ahead and put a line through the rest of that to make it $10 even. We're going to make sure that we sign the check with our own signatures. And we're going to write that this was for birthday. Sometimes I'll even write happy birthday or happy graduation on the check. All right, and that is as simple as that. So what I'd like for you to do is to continue practicing these and then upload those to Google Classroom so I can make sure that you're filling out your checks correctly. All right, I hope you have a great day.